And welcome, everyone. This is a special edition. We're going to call this a hot mic with Hastings and Lindahl. You guys will meet Scott Hastings in a second. He's our former NBA player that's hanging out in the studio just to the yonder there. But we're pleased to be joined by guys playing in the PLL this weekend, stars of the league, the talk of the league, the team of the league, the Denver Outlaws, as we've got Logan McNaney, got it right there, Pat Kavanagh, and Brennan O'Neill joining us here. First off, guys, how are we enjoying Denver here? Or have any of you been out this way? I know you're the Denver Outlaws, but the way the league works, have any of you visited Denver much?
Yeah, I played a first-round NCAA tournament game here my sophomore year. So back in 2021, it was the weird COVID season where they did neutral site games for the first round of the NCAA tournament. So I played Drexel here at Peter Barton. So I think that might have been – I think I was back in Denver growing up on a road trip out west. But yeah, I've been here once or twice and I've enjoyed my time here, and it's awesome being back here and excited to play in front of the fans here this weekend.
Now, I knew you guys played here last year. Logan, have you ever played at altitude? Have you done? Now, you don't have to run too much, right? So there, yeah. I was always told goalies like goalie because they don't have to run necessarily.
Yeah,
but
we are athletes. Us goalies, we're athletes. So.
I'm not saying that you're not.
I know. But yeah, this is actually my first time in Denver. This summer is my first time out west, so it's pretty cool seeing all these beautiful places, the mountains in the background here, and the strong fan base we have, the Denver Outlaws. It's pretty cool. I'm super excited to be here and play in front of them.
Well, I'll be curious to then maybe talk to you after the game to see how the altitude affects you. How long did it take you guys to get the altitude, get the lungs right last year?
Yeah, you definitely see a difference. You may not be able to run as long as you can when you're dealing with less altitude, but it really is a mindset. And you just got to push through and not think about it as much as possible. We already played in Utah last week, which I think is even tougher to play in. Just it's very dry air, so you add that to it. It can be tougher than here in Denver. So I think we got a little taste of it last week as well.
Yeah, I hate to tell you guys, the forecast is calling for 90s. What we have today is going to go away, and we may get a little more of that dry air that you're talking about, although they also have those wildfires out there, which doesn't make it a lot of fun to play either. All right. Last week, let's talk about last week. Last week was a little bit fun. You know, you're sitting in we're the home of the Avalanche here in the Denver Nuggets, and the Avs used to have the blood rivalry with the Detroit Red Wings long before I think most of you were born, but still one of the great rivalries. That had a little spice last week. Were you expecting that?
Yeah, Brennan, you can take this away.
Yeah, I mean, both West Coast teams in the same conference don't like each other a whole lot. It's all competitive. It's our competitive nature kicking in. But yeah, I think just that they had a lot riding on that game. If we won, we clinched a playoff spot. And they had to get a win to be a little more comfortable in the standings as we get closer to the postseason. So I think you add those two different things. You get a lot of hits and a lot of just, a little talk, a little chirping. And when you add all that together, sometimes it can get physical out there.
Well, you're the highlight of the week because it looked like they made maybe the wrong move hitting you, because that led to quite the big game that you had. Pat, you were feeding him a lot. You're the quarterback from behind the goal. I know one of the guys that I work with on the Mammoth broadcast, and he's real big here in the lacrosse community in town. He runs Denver City Lax. Of course, he's Eric Law, a guy I think you guys got to know last year. How much did you pick up from Eric last year? How big a help? Well, I guess you weren't on the Outlaws yet, but have you crossed paths with Eric?
I haven't. No, training camp this year is the first time I was fortunate enough to play with him. But my older brother Matt played on the Denver Outlaws with Eric, and they won 2 championships together. So I've been watching him for a while. I've been a fan of his game for a long time. So definitely have stolen bits and pieces from his game throughout the years just from watching him. He's one of the best goal scorers of all time. And yeah, he's just a fantastic teammate, and the work that he's been doing out here in Denver with the City Lax program is awesome. So I've definitely admired him for a while on and off the field, and it's been really cool getting to know him personally this year.
All right, Logan, how has it been jumping in the league here? I watch the game of lacrosse has evolved, obviously. I played, the athletes weren't near what you guys are when I was having fun with it, and it wasn't near as serious. And I can tell you this, it wasn't near as creative. If a long pole wanted to shoot, you better make darn sure you get that thing on net, or the coach was taking you out of the game. Now it's like the regular. You're facing these 110 mile an hour shots. I believe at the All-Star game we had a long pole set the record light, right, for fastest shot.
123.
What?
miles an hour. So let's.
Whoa. Do you even process what that is? How do you pick up something? Well, I'm sure you're not seeing 123 in a game, but let's say it's near. I mean, these guys can let it rip. What's that like?
Yeah, I mean, I think, in college, being in, a good conference, you're still facing high quality shots, and guys can rip the ball in college as well. But, I kind of just try to play the way I normally do. I, don't think about too much like how these guys can shoot, just trying to react to the ball. And I still have fun with it. I think that's a big thing for me, At times, yeah, there's room for a lot of seriousness and stuff like that. But for me, I try to have a lot of fun out there and, play free flowing. And you just can't be afraid when those guys wind up and, the 6-foot poles. It's pretty scary when they're stepping in to shoot. But you kind of just got to try to save the ball. That's like the main thing. And you try to keep that the main thing. So keep it simple. That's what I try to do.
This may be a stupid question, but I'm in the media, so you're going to have to suffer a few of those. Do you guess ever? I mean, again, the guy, can you track it out of the stick, especially if it's a white head? Like, where is your first move on something like that?
Yeah, I think with, like outside shots when guys are stepping in, just realizing where they are in the field. And, I've been playing long enough where I know where guys are on the field, like how much net they see. And I take that into account. And also, some guys play with a little bit more whip, so they might be willing to, pull the ball low or stuff like that. But sometimes you do guess, just like shots on top of the crease. You try not to guess as much as possible because, you guess wrong, you get scored on. So I've always tried, practicing that in college and even in high school, but especially now, like guessing. I mean, once you guess wrong, you're out of place and guys can put the ball wherever they want. So just reacting.
Brennan, I got to ask you, I mean, you were the number 1 pick overall last year in this league. You also were the number 1 pick in the NLL. You're this close to doing both Denver teams. I don't know if you know the lineage of that Philly pick, how they got you, but the way it worked out, you could have been a Colorado Mammoth on top of it. But they won the trophy that year, so nobody complains. But you were on a younger team last year. They were the worst team in the league when you showed up there. They were struggling. That's obviously how you get the number 1 pick. You show up, you guys get a lot of excitement going last year. You add these guys now this year. How much fun has it been this year compared to your rookie year?
Oh yeah, my rookie year was awesome. We still have a lot of the similar guys that we had last year, but now a lot of the rookies we had last year, we're 1 year older now, and that experience can go a long way. And also just like the friendships off the field as well. Just getting to know these guys another year longer, you start getting closer as a unit, which can also translate to on the field success. And I'd say that last year we had a lot of learning to do, especially with how young of a team we had. But it almost felt like we were always just so close to figuring it out. And this year it feels like we took what we learned from last year and put it into place this year, with a couple great new additions as well, which has been a pleasure getting to know these guys even more and creating a stronger bond.
Now, you can create your own shot, but what's it like having Pat here? I mean, we saw one of the beautiful assists on your goal last week.
Oh, yeah. He's got eyes in the back of his head. I know that if he sees any stick open, he's throwing the ball there. And he trusts me to make the play, and he trusts all the guys on the offensive end, which is really awesome. He can create a lot for me as a player. A lot of times I'm ball dominant. I have the ball and I'm dodging a lot, but this year, it's starting to add another aspect to my game where I can cut and play off ball and kind of score goals in different ways, just because how he's always got his eyes up the field and makes the right read.
All right, I got to wrap it up with you guys. I could go with you for an hour. You probably could tell that, but it's great to have you guys in town. I will ask you this, and I know you're young into the league, so I don't know if you'll have the best answer, but I'm still curious. And I'll admit, look, when I got a chance to meet Paul Rabel when they came out here and had the World Cup here in 2015, he was playing for Team USA. I actually started with the Outlaws when they were in the MLL doing the TV there and got to know there's so many great players. That's why I'm glad they brought the name back. There really is a great history for the franchise you guys get to play for. Pat Bowlen, the owner of the Broncos, owned them when they were winning. One year they won the championship and the Super Bowl in 2015, so that was pretty cool. You got Matt Bocklett, one of their great players, still in town coaching. I could go on and on and on with the guys that they've had here. Eric Law was part of the original group as well. And Jesse Schwartzman, the goalie. You're carrying on a great goalie legacy for them too as well. Have you found, and I think I really got a taste of it last week in Utah, have you found adding the city names has helped. I really kind of liked the unique names they had going on and no attachment to the city. I'll be honest, I was kind of feeling the Redwoods just because of the uniforms there for a while, but watching you get hit, it made you feel a little something, feeling like their guys are coming after your guys. Has it made it more interesting adding the city names, do you think?
Yeah, honestly, I think it adds a little bit more intimacy, like for the fan bases. Obviously it's a little different when we're going to different cities every weekend, but it gives people around that area an opportunity to truly root for a team in their city. So, I think it's a right step a step in the right direction. So we'll see kind of what happens with that stuff, but I think it's great for cities to have like home teams.
I'm going to end it with you, Pat, because I've got 3 little brothers too. I also went to a Catholic school. I don't know if the religion played into where you went or not, but it just feels like I got to know the Gronkowskis when they were here. Dan Gronkowski, the oldest, and Chris, the fullback, both played here. And he would tell me great stories about Rob and all the guys ganging up and the brothers just being a mess and being a little bit of hellions in the neighborhood. Have you got any stories like that with your family? Were you guys kind of the roughhousers of the neighborhood or anything?
Yeah, definitely. 5 boys and a girl in my family, so a lot of just straight chaos in our household growing up. Yeah, I broke my jaw in my backyard. We were raking leaves in the fall. A lot of leaves on the ground in New York in the fall. So my mom had us out in the yard raking leaves, and so we rake all the leaves up, gathering all the leaves, and then me and Chris is holding a football down. I'm acting like I use the lacrosse net in our backyard as like the goalpost. So I'm going to kick a field goal. And my brother Brendan lines up as like he's playing on the D line, going to go block the field goal. And he sprints full speed. And he claims he tripped over like a rock or something, but he jumped and then midair, like swings around, elbows me right in the face. And I shattered my jaw just messing around in the backyard. So my mom luckily is a nurse and she was out there, and I'm freaking out, blood everywhere. My face was destroyed. But luckily we have my mom who's a nurse. My dad's losing his mind. So that was the story that came to mind. My brother shattering my own jaw in my backyard, messing around.
If you didn't bleed, you didn't have brothers. If it makes you feel any better, I guess Rob and Chris ganged up on Dan and one of them had a knife as they were running. So at least nothing like that's going down. Guys, good luck this weekend. Enjoy Denver. I know the city's psyched that you're out here. Enjoy DU, and we can't wait for the tour stop next year as well.
Awesome.
So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
for having us.